so you can, see the.
There we see her better now too.
Yeah.
We're seeing you, beautiful.
Oh, good. Well, good. It just it doesn't get you all, but we'll figure it out.
We're here in spirit.
Okay, good. So I'm Ruthie Schlabach, and I am a native Floridian, and I'm running for County Commission District 3. I've been in Citrus County for 25 years. I think I've raised our daughters here. I think most of you might know me. I own a business with my husband. We've owned it for 27 years. And I am running for County Commission because I just don't feel like my voice has been heard. So I'm ready. I put my name in the hat because I think I can contribute with my education, my work experience, my life experience, and I just want to try to help. So that's why I'm in this. But I'm new to this, so be gentle because I'm not necessarily a political person, but I'm learning. I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. So is that how you want to ask me questions? How do these things go?
Well, you gave a very nice introduction. I'd like to open it up for folks to answer a question. All you got to do is unmute your mic on the screen there and raise your hand or whatever. Hello, Samantha.
Hi, Samantha.
Hi, Ruthie. Samantha Carter, and I live in Inverness. And I just have to thank you so much for running for office. That's an amazing, it's a brave thing to do, and it's a selfless thing to do. And I admire that so much. And I just, want to welcome you to our group. And, and in terms of questions, I mean, I guess I would be curious how you feel about the opening of the county recently in light of, the recommendations that were made by the health department and various agencies coming together. And Brian Coleman had supported kind of a slower, more conservative approach. And I guess I wonder how you feel about Mr. Not Coleman, but rather the two other commissioners who were kind of wanting to just move ahead without considering what this commission had recommended. Ron Kitchen and I guess Mr. Carnahan. Yeah. And I wondered, what I personally feel like when you put the work of a commission together and they make a recommendation, that's our taxpayer dollars at work. And then for someone in a commissioner's seat to just say, well, I'm going to make a decision. I wonder where you stand on how that decision was made by, again, those two gentlemen.
I have a couple thoughts on this. When I'm 8 of 9 children, same parents. My dad was a World War II pilot, and then he went into commercial airlines. My mother was an RN. And I remember when I went to college, and then after college, going to get my first job. And, I was told by my parents, the best thing you can do is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. So even when we go to hire somebody, I always try to see somebody that's an expert in that field and how they could advance us and listen to their counsel. I am not a doctor. I think that if you've got health professionals giving you advice on a task force, that you should listen to them because you've picked them to be on your task force. They're experts in their fields. And if it was recommended to me as a commissioner to, of course, we need to open up our county, but we have a vulnerable set of citizens. And my brother actually was living with us at the time because he's a ship's captain. He fell on the ship. He was got a crazy weird infection from the, I forget what it's called, the bowels or the balusters of the ship. And so he was on an IV, and so he had to move here because he had 24-hour care. So we were on lockdown February 14th, not even thinking about the virus. So I was sensitive to it, thinking if we open it up too much, I've just spent the last 8 weeks in self-quarantine, my two 20-year-old daughters. If you just open this up without any kind of restrictions, you just told me, a citizen, that my quarantine was for nothing. And it really, it upset me. It upset me because I thought, Commissioner Coleman is telling you there needs to be some kind of restriction, and you're putting people at risk. Did I go to the park? No. So I had that choice, but I also feel like, you know, you want your leaders to lead you in the right direction. So I did not like, I would have voted with Commissioner Coleman. If
Okay.
long story short. So you have to use common sense, right? You have to have common sense.
True.
So thank you.
So what are your goals?
Okay, I'm going to switch screens now and try to find who said that.
Me.
You have to identify yourself.
Do I? I'm Marion. I live in Inverness. I was wondering
Oh,
what
there
your
you
goals
are.
would
Hi,
be.
Marion. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I had to go through 4 screens to get you. Okay. So, what was your question?
What are your goals?
My goals for the county are, I want to increase our economic independence, and our tax burden is on us, the homeowners, and we need to get the right kind of businesses here. But by doing that, we also have to protect our natural resources and our waters. I'm a native Floridian. It's very important to me. And I know that seems very strange coming from a Republican candidate, but I am a person that wants to protect our environment, keep our hometown feel. But we also, if we don't have the tax base to pay for paving our roads, we have to look at it from a business sense. So I really want to encourage that and try to find the industrial areas that are site ready and get some light industry in here. And also I want to see our roads in good condition. So I think my 3 things would be economic development, protecting our natural resources, and paving our roads. When I first started, I had about 15 things. Now I'm down to 3. So did that answer your question, Marion?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
Ruthie?
Hi, Mark.
Ruthie, can you hear me? Mark
can.
Baker from Crystal River. Hey, what kind of industry do you think you could attract here, and how are you going to do it?
Okay. As a businesswoman, as a business person, I think that we have to sell our county. And I would love to see a light industry. And what is hot right now, there are 2 areas that I think, and that is your food industry. I mean, I would love to see an Entenmann's or a chocolate factory or frozen food. Those are light industries that produce jobs and careers. And I think it would be ideal out by Inverness Airport, that you have the airport, you have 75, and then with the new parkway coming in, they could also go that way. But as a commissioner, I think you have to be a salesperson and make our county welcoming, and be a salesperson. Basically say, this is why you need to leave New Jersey. Our taxes are better. You could employ 50 to 100 people and move that way. And the more of that we get, the more households we get, and our tax base gets a little stronger.
Would you be willing to give them tax incentives to move here?
I really, honestly, you know, don't know as much about that. But if we gave a tax incentive of say $10,000, but we gained 100, then yes, I would be interested in that. But if you give a tax incentive and you get nothing back, then that's bad business.
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank you, Ruthie.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Ruthie, it's Marion again. What made you decide to run?
Oh, you want the truth?
Of course. We always want the truth.
I had a 10-year struggle with the county, and I felt that we had already been in the county 15 years at that point. And the last 3 years of them trying to basically take our property because they didn't design 486 properly cost us $60,000. And
Wow.
we, at the time, we had just under 20 employees, and we were treated horribly. Like, our tax dollars and our investment into the county and employing like I said, we're under 20 employees. I think it was, not counting Jerry and I, 17 employees and their families. And we were basically told, if you don't like it, leave. That's the cost
Wow.
of doing business.
Mhm.
And I just felt like if we hadn't pursued it and won, we would have left the county. We work all over the state of Florida. We have a fire and alarm company, and we can basically be anywhere. We're born and raised in Sarasota. We moved up here, and we were going to open a second location. And within 6 months, we knew this is where we wanted to be and raise our children. So I'm invested into the county, and for me to be treated like that, imagine somebody coming into the county and wanting to open a flower shop and be told, no, you can't do that because that business has never been a flower shop. And then they say, okay, and they leave and go to Brooksville.
Right.
Brooksville gets all, it just doesn't even make sense to me. And I'm one of 100 stories like this. But also saying that, if I hadn't gone through that struggle, I wouldn't have put my name in the hat. And I honestly believe that it was fate or God or the universe directing me, because for most of my life, I wanted to run for office, but running for office is hard, and you're putting yourself out there, and not everybody is nice to you, even if you have the best intentions. So I think that I had to go through that struggle just to put my name in, because it really pushed me. I wanted to run in 2008, but my twin daughters were 8 years old. And so I was like, I can't do it. And then each year I found an excuse why not to do it. And then I think the universe just said, you're going to do it. And I'm thankful to go through that struggle, because I learned so much. And I kept thinking about the person that didn't have the $60,000, and it was a huge hit for us, and they would have been run out of town. And that's an abuse of power. And I don't like that. I don't like bullies.
No, certainly not.
Well, I
I
think
wasn't aware of your story. I'm glad I heard it.
I think
It's a lot more involved than that. I'm just, you have no idea that it was, but it made me the person I am today. So I'm thankful.
well, it was a bully that brought us all together here.
Yeah.
Understood.
We don't like bullies.
The
The
coffee
elephant in the
coalition,
room.
the coffee coalition was kind of started because of Trump.
Yeah.
It kind of gave us a reason to all band together.
And we found each other.
Yeah,
Huh.
I mean, it's been fantastic. Hey, Alyssa, could you give Ruthie a little of our background?
Uh-oh.
I can't hear her.
Her sound is not working.
Uh-oh,
I
sounds
hear you now. Nope.
nope. Okay. Okay, well, she's a great historian.
Well, actually, she is one of the ones that I do know, because when the whole New York Times thing happened,
Yeah.
I was sitting in there, and Alyssa, I didn't know that was your name, went up and spoke, and I was like, fantastic. I thought she was eloquent. I thought articulate, and really just brought it right home. And I was very impressed with your presentation, and I appreciated it. I'm a ferocious reader. My daughters are ferocious readers, and I love my libraries. And I was like, good for you. It made me proud. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice, having, folks coming out of the woodwork and being able to speak their mind without being ridiculed or talked down to. So, we're kind of a happy group with a common cause, a common goal, and hopefully come November, things will be changed around nationally. But also we'd like to see some changes right here in the county, in August.
Yes, I hope so. I really hope so. Every day I learn something new, and some of it's not very good. And I just have to know that I'm on the right path, and hopefully I can make a difference.
Question. Can I ask a quick question?
Go right ahead.
We've had some of the candidates for sheriff speak to our group, and I'm just kind of curious about your thoughts about them. If you want to share.
I honestly, it's Anne, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, I have been trying to be so focused on my campaign, and I've never been in law enforcement. I think it's going to be an interesting race. Whenever you have more than 3 people in a race, you're automatically helping the incumbent. So it's just a numbers game. So it would be unwise of me to say anything about the incumbent, because I've talked to all the candidates. I know who I feel is very qualified. I also know who I think is working hard. And I think anybody that puts their name in really wants that job. And it's up to us as the voters to do our homework like you guys do, and find out who really, I think that they're each running a different campaign, the 3 candidates, and they all have positive things that they are doing. One is working tremendously hard, and 2, they all have the credentials. So it's up to us as the voters to figure that out. But I really wouldn't get into it, because I have to concentrate on my campaign, and it just wouldn't be. Yeah.
You say you're not a politician.
I said I've learned a lot in 2 years, let me tell you. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just want the best candidate, and I want the person that can protect us and make our county safe.
Nice.
Here.
Mary wanted to say something.
Yes, thanks, Dale. Ruthie, Mary Hedges here.
Hi, Mary.
Pine Ridge, and I'm glad to see you're running. And it was interesting, and I appreciate your sincerity and your genuineness in talking about why you chose to run. I'm interested in I've heard this through the grapevine about Citrus County being unfriendly to businesses, and I don't really know how that plays out. But when you ran into those problems, when your business ran into those problems, would you describe it as county employees' action, or the laws that were on the books, or what made it so difficult?
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It was a cross access, and we bought our plaza in 1997, and the plaza was developed by one family. There's two plazas at Oak Tree and then the Chevron. And at one time, the same owner owned all three, and they lived behind the plaza at the Flying Dutchman development or estates. So when the first time they came through on 486, it was around 96, 97, they had to give my plaza access to 486. So because of that, that became an ingress egress. And that way the plaza next door would use my driveway, but legally they were allowed to do that. I could not block their businesses. So we knew that this was a recorded ingress egress for the two plazas. There was another driveway that went to Chevron because that's how Mr. Hall went home. He would go through there and through Chevron and go back to Flying Dutchman. That driveway was not a recorded cross access. So when they widened 486, before they even started the first asphalt truck out there, my husband and I went to the county and said, you do realize if you change this road, everybody, the 400 homes behind us are going to come through Chevron, go through our parking lot and go left because you're taking away their left-hand turn. Mm. We did that for 7 years. And during construction, we would say to them, neither one of us are engineers, but it was common sense. If you take something away from somebody that they've had for 40 years, they're like a horse to the barn. They're not going to change their ways. It's just the way it is. So that went on for 7 years. Then we got a new administrator, a new attorney, and all of a sudden it went from bad to worse. And they insisted it was cross access. A judge ruled in our favor, a mediator that they picked ruled in our favor, and each time it didn't matter. The county attorney or the county administrator, whoever, would say, well, we're not gonna listen to that. And that's how it ended up costing us $60,000. Finally, we were able to get it before the county commission, and they did rule that this was a harassment of a business, and it ended there. But it was bad. It was many times we thought we're just moving, and we would tell our employees, I don't know that we're going to be in business next year here. We don't know where we're going to move our company, if we're going to go back to Sarasota. And it was truly an abuse of power. But again, I'm not running because of that. I'm running because I went through that. And I never want somebody to feel as helpless as I felt. And if anybody has felt truly helpless, it's an awful feeling to know that it doesn't matter what you do, that you're a good person and you pay your taxes and you work hard and you raise your children to obey the laws. It didn't matter. And I never, ever want anybody to feel like that. I will fight for, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Coffee Coalition. If you're in the right, I'm going to fight for you. That's it, plain and simple.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name's Rich Messina. This is my wife, Joanne. We live in Citrus Hills, and I want to go back to one of your three key concerns, the one concerning road repair. I served on our POA for 6 years, 4 of them as president. It's one of the topics that we heard all the time. I know that there's concerns about taxation in the county, but the current plan is unworkable. The amount of money collected from gasoline revenue with more efficient cars and less driving is not going to pay for it. We also know that the current plan is somewhere around 80 to 100 years to repave. Our roads are not going to last that long. What's your plan to fix that? It's not easy.
It's not. And I, you said Citrus Hills?
Citrus Hills.
So your roads are in pretty good condition. Lucky,
Well,
lucky you.
In our POA, there's 1,800 properties and 40 miles of road.
Right.
And we walk it all the time. To drive over them, sometimes there's potholes and sometimes they get repaired, or they do get repaired. But the condition, if you look at the actual condition of the base road, they're not going to last. They're starting to come apart. And within the next 5 to 10 years, every one of these roads are going to need,
If you go through Citrus Springs,
right,
it's disaster.
are going to need work.
Okay, so don't let me forget to come back to Citrus Springs. Our tax base does not have enough money to pave our roads. We all know that. They can keep telling us whatever they want, but it's almost a joke. If you get your road paved, oh, good for you, we'll see you in 50 years. If you don't have the tax base, what are you going to do? I know the first thing that, you don't want to necessarily raise people's taxes. So, okay, you're not going to go that avenue. I think that what we're going to have to do, and again, in the plan of things for my life, which I did not realize, I have spent the last 2 years fostering relationships in Tallahassee, because we're going to need to get some pot of money and go to Tallahassee and say, what pot of money can I pick from to try to get our roads paved? Because right now we aren't going to get it done. It's a numbers, and anybody in business can look and see we don't have enough money, and our services are going up. The cost of our services are going up, but we still don't get our roads paved. So I think that we're going to have to be clever. We're going to have to think outside of the box. And my thing would be actually to go to Tallahassee and say, you're going to waste this money anyway. Why not waste it on our roads? And the second thing is that I think that needs to be done, especially in a place like Citrus Springs, is we need to have our legislators put on the books conditions where if developers are going to come to a rural area and make all these promises and then don't finish a development or don't do it properly, they need to be responsible for the mess that they've left. And you can come into any place and say, I'm going to do this and do a cheap road and then leave if it didn't get, sold out, so many lots. And I think that needs to stop, because we're not the only, county that has gotten stuck with some pretty shoddy workmanship. And I think we have to be tough on them. I think we need to have I really think our Tallahassee has to make protections for us. How are we going to fix Citrus Springs? Those have to be completely redone. And we don't have the money.
Okay. I have one
Whole
more.
system.
I don't know if you agree with me, but that's how I feel.
I personally, I think that, the roads in our community some of them were upgraded maybe 10 years ago. A couple were upgraded 5 years ago. But the vast majority are very old, and they're going to fail all at the same time. And that's going to be catastrophic. So unless we can find a way to put together a pool of money, and other counties do it in a variety of different ways. They'll put a penny tax on for sales. There's a number of ways that they raise revenues to do some of this stuff. I think that you have to expand the concept of revenues. The idea that we can constantly cut taxes and not increase revenues in any other way is ridiculous.
Thank you.
There's a revenue side and there's a expenditure side. They have to balance. And if you don't have an balance in them, you're going to fail in your support for your infrastructure or any other part of your government that needs to be funded.
But every time it comes up, I've even said, why don't we get a campaign together that for so many years we're going to get that penny. We're 7 or 8 counties in the state of Florida that don't have that additional penny tax. That would go directly to us. Why don't we have that? Well, because Republicans don't want you to raise their taxes.
Exactly.
And we're predominantly Republican. And I brought it up 6 years ago when I didn't even know I was going to be running, and you should have seen the reaction I got. I'm like, well, then how are you going to pave your roads? And so I think that's why I'm going to have to be creative, and I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to try to figure it out. And that's why my first instinct is, okay, then we got to get the right businesses in here so that at least we're getting those tax dollars coming into our county.
My second
But
question comes from my experience on the POA as well. And that
Okay.
deals with garbage collection. And I would hear it month after month at our meetings from homeowners that they were upset about the cost of garbage collection changing continually and going up. In fact, we even had Brian Coleman in at our meetings several times to talk about it. And they promised to do some things that, that when it was advanced disposal, they promised to do some things to take care of it, and they never followed through on it. The reason we're having, there's a disparity that exists. When the developers end of the Citrus Hills, which is Skyview and Terra Vista, they negotiate through a contract because he owns all that stuff still. It's not completely turned over to the property owners associations there. So he can negotiate with them. And at one point we found that the 1,800 property owners in our POA were paying about 20% more to have their garbage picked up than the residents of Skyview. And when we got them in front of us and asked them, and they said, because they negotiated a contract with him, and that's how it works. But as a POA, we don't have the legality to do that. We can talk to them, we can ask them, but we cannot negotiate a contract with them. So we're left to the devices of the company. And because they say, well, we have individual contracts with every single person that's in your property owners association. That's what they pay. You can choose another contractor if you want. We cannot choose another contractor. And I told Brian, they pretty much have a monopoly on the business. Yeah. It is a monopoly because no other company is going to send a big truck down the road to service 2 people, right, or 3 people. They have to have enough. They have to have enough customers to make a profit. It's just not going to work. So right. Here we have one company that has all the leverage, and the consumer has none. They have no option to go with another company. Yep. So when it comes to the county and they're talking about universal garbage pickup, if we go to universal garbage pickup, and I looked at the numbers that we would pay each month, we would pay less. Skyview would pay a little more, and we would be paying less than what we are right now. It's just an inequity, and it's an inequity because the company has a monopoly.
I will never agree with a monopoly. As a business owner, I will never agree with that. And I have had many people come up to me and say, if you tell me you're for universal garbage, you've got my vote.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that would be a great thing. But if they really want my truth, I, first of all, do not feel comfortable with the leadership right now to negotiate a correct contract for me. Mm-hmm. And we have some pretty bad deals going on, and I don't feel safe in that. But I also think, okay, yeah, universal garbage looks great on paper. In theory, it is great. I grew up with universal garbage in Sarasota. I didn't know any different. But we are a different kind of county. We have areas that trucks could never even get down because the roads aren't paved or they're not taken care of. So, and we also have a community of elderly people that are truly on fixed incomes. And my mother, we still have her house on Monroe Street in Beverly Hills. My 87-year-old mother generated 1 Publix bag of garbage a week. She did not do that. So her and her next door neighbor split the garbage. You know, it was just, okay, we'll split the bill. If you were to put, now my mother could afford the bill, that's why she paid for it, but she also helped her neighbors. If you have somebody that is living on a fixed income and then you say it's going to be $50 and then next year it's going to be 75 and then the year after that is 100, how is that a good deal for anyone? And I think that we're adults, and if people think that that's going to stop illegal dumping, I don't believe that. I think people that illegally dump are going to illegally dump even if you put a dumpster in front of their house.
Okay, so I'm going to push back a little bit here.
Okay.
So universal garbage pickup, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same for every single part of the county. There's some creativity that can be gauged here. Yeah. You have a really rural part of the county, then you can say, we're going to start this plan from the most dense parts of the county onward. Mm-hmm. Just there, I just don't see how every other county in the state, bar 3 or 4, is able to do this, and they all benefit by it. I went to the dump today to get rid of some electronics. Yeah. And for the first time, they told me they don't recycle electronics any longer. They just throw them in general garbage. I just am amazed at how we handle our garbage. So I think it's something that needs to be. You have 3 years to look at it. I would encourage you to check the history through the other counties and see whether they benefit or their constituents, your constituents, would suffer from it. But I would bet they would benefit from it. And but
a universal garbage, you have to have a condensed neighborhood. You're not going to get a company that, like you said, is going to go down a mile down the road for one home. There are properties that are on 20 or more acres. How are you going to say you're going to have this one garbage company? We have several garbage companies that you can't choose from, but we can. We have that choice. If you go to a universal, you have one company, and then they tell us next year how much their price is until that contract is out. That's the way I understand it.
Okay, I don't want to take up all the time, so I accept your answer. I just don't agree with you all the way with that.
Okay, good, that's fine. And I might, once I can look at the data and see it, convince me, prove me I'm wrong, and I'll be there with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice. Anyone else want to chime in on this?
Diane King here.
Hi.
Randy and I are new to Citrus County.
Welcome.
New to this group. And about paved roads, one thing we've noticed is housing developments can be developed without paved roads. There's a new development that's east of Independence that's kind of started after we purchased our house, and we went over just to look at the model homes, just to kind of see what was going on. And the man said they're not going to pave the roads in the subdivision. And currently they have a few houses already built, and one person happened to come to me because I was outside, and they said, when do you think the roads are going to be paved? And I said, my understanding, they're not going to be paved. So all of these people are going to be living on dirt tracks to get to this entire subdivision of dirt track homes. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand how developers can do that.
And this is a plotted development and approved by the county?
It's called Inverness Village 4, and there may be 100 homes planted.
Right off of Independence.
Yeah.
East of Independence.
Yeah.
And the county thinks that's okay. The county staff thinks that's okay.
These are brand new homes.
Are most of those like vacation homes?
No, they're
Not at all.
regular homes. They're very small homes. They're more for, they're just more like 1,400, starter home, 1,400, 1,500 square feet homes.
Could be retirement homes.
Or retirement homes, or that kind of thing. But no, not second.
Can I chime in? Can I chime in for a second? I know the developer there, and from what I understand from him is that there will be finished roads.
Where is this, Mark?
It'll be gravel roads, not paved. Is gravel finished?
East of Independence.
East of Independence.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It's in Inverness though. I dropped off some signs there the other day.
Huh. I will look into that. I actually have never heard.
Yeah, if you drive on Independence, you'll just see it. All of the new.
Well, I know all those homes on Independence. I've seen those, but
behind those homes, you will take a right, which direction you're going, the east, on the Bennett. And then go next, going Cunningham. If you find Cunningham, you'll find the street that I'm talking about.
Okay, I will look into that because I've never heard of such a thing.
I know. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
and then how are you going to get the garbage trucks down there?
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be interesting, yes.
In the rainy season.
So how do they get their garbage picked up now?
Well, they're just building the houses.
Nobody's occupied them yet. There's one man that came by and he is probably the one that's most completed. And he said he'll be in, I don't know, in about a month, month or two. And so that's when he thought, well, maybe they paved the roads. But then he's been arguing with the person who owns that, the developer, the builder. And now he's under the understanding, which I think is totally wrong, that his real estate company is going to pave the road because he's complained so much. And I'm thinking, I've never heard of a real estate company paving the road, but maybe I'm wrong. But he said the owner has definitely told him he's not going to pay it because he said if that's not the owner of the development said that's not his responsibility. His private builder that he's working with said that's not his responsibility. That's why the realtor said we'll pave the roads, which I don't think that'll happen.
I've never heard of that, but it's definitely private roads then.
Yeah.
So the county will never step in and pave that. So that must be, is that how they're getting around it, Mark?
I don't think they're getting around it. I think they're going to be paved.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I'm trying to get a hold of the guy right now. I'm actually trying to get a hold of the guy right now.
There was a brouhaha a while back in that same area, around the corner on Arlington Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a bunch of homes there with orange tiled roofs.
Right.
Yes.
And behind there was a bunch of beautiful homes with unpaved roads. And the homeowners, complained, but eventually I think the homeowners actually had to get together and take out a loan and, and get it done themselves, as far as I know.
I talked to the county and the lady that I have spoken with there. I've been talking with the county a lot, and she said she was involved in that, and that there were beautiful homes, but they were all on dirt roads and bad dirt roads. In fact, they had to buy 2 lots and had them
a retention
pond put in before the county would even agree to pave them.
Wow.
Even though the residents paid for the roads, they had to comply with county rules.
Right. So we're trying to get Bennett Street paved, and we're not scheduled until October of 2021.
Mm-hmm. So you're on the calendar, huh?
Yes.
So you bought a home on an unpaved road.
Right.
Yes. We're on the corner of Independence and Bennett. The only part of the road that's not paved is between Independence and Cunningham.
Okay.
There's a strip there with one block that's not paved. So we've been trying to get that one block paved since we moved in, and I've been with the county a lot. And that's when I found out about the orange tile roofs and how they had to pay for their own. We'll have to pay for our own. And again, my understanding from everybody I've talked to is that at best that they will do is on Cunningham put in a graveled road.
Mm-hmm.
I will look into that because first of all, it's interesting. But can I ask you a question? How have you felt as a new resident? How have you felt you've been treated by the county?
Well, I've gotten a lot of response. I've called, and I have to say that every person I've dealt with, director of road maintenance, and I'm trying to think of the lady's name that I have been speaking with. She's been really helpful in trying to the petitions I need to get signed. I had to have my neighbors sign all the petitions, and we agreed that we will pay for the road. So our concern is it doesn't really bother us, but there is going to be that community that's not going to have paved roads. So
and our road is the access road for all the construction trucks to build all these houses. So our little dirt road is all the concrete trucks, the tractor trailers with trusses, every air conditioner, electrician, plumber, everybody's blowing up mountains of dust on our little private road.
So if you pay to have it paved, you're also going to have to maintain that road.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a county road. It's a county road now. So I don't know about that.
it's a county road because it was a private road. It was turned over to the county, but I had to go to my neighbors and get a petition signed stating that we wanted to have it paved. So we've done all that. And so I just recently called the county again and said, where are we? And she said, well, you had to fit in by August of 2019 to get into the 2020 calendar. So we've already met the calendar date for this year, so we'll be in. And she said October 2021 is when we're scheduled to be paved. And the county will be the one doing it, but they'll be put on our taxes, or we can pay it on cash.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, it's funny
I think the
because
county only paved 5 miles of road this year.
Yeah.
Or less.
What's that?
I think the county only paved 5 miles of road last year.
Wow.
5 miles
In a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
In a year.
Not very much.
Again,
my whole neighborhood is not paved and nobody wants it paved. I'm at like the south end of South Apopka off of Carroll, and we're just one big figure 8, and you have to go past my house to get into the neighborhood. And we're all dirt road, and sometimes we get our deliveries and sometimes we don't, but the neighbors seem to prefer it that way.
Who grades your road periodically? Are you responsible for that?
Nobody does unless we get a neighbor with a bulldozer to fix it. And we're not incorporated. So whoever's got a bulldozer or whatever, we just take care of it ourselves or not. So.
Well, if our street was only servicing this little neighborhood of the tile roof homes behind us, it wouldn't be a big deal. But now the new development of hundreds of homes are being, and now we're going to see a lot more traffic because we are the main entrance.
It gets pretty tricky driving through my neighborhood. I'm glad I'm close to the paved part.
Yeah.
You know, because like when I was coming home, I was away for the weekend with the RV, and it was a really dry season. So I called my husband and asked him to wet the road down before I got here. You know, it was going to be like a day at the beach. I'm like, could you water the street before I get there?
Yeah, I mean, only I think in Citrus County would that be a request. to water the road before you came home, you know. But you know, somebody just brought up the point, you know, we are Florida and we have sugar sand. I'm glad to hear that you said it's a public road, because one thing that triggered with me when you said you were at the entrance, and if it was a private road and you have all those big heavy trucks going down, the faster, that's more trips that you're going to have to take care of your road. And that's something that you have to think about when you negotiate with the county, that okay, you're going to pave it October of 21, but by the time 100 homes get developed, what kind of condition is your road going to be in?
Right.
Yeah,
We
this-
only have one problem neighbor that tries to shoot through there and he tears it all up, and then it's all sugar sand. But we know who he is because it's not that big a neighborhood, so he gets yelled at and then he stops for a while. But apparently he can't help himself on Friday nights. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have the answers for everything. And like I said before about universal garbage, I pride myself on being educated. And if you can educate me and change my mind and show me the data, I'm going to be for it. If it's going to improve our county, I don't have that sense of pride that I'm always going to be right. I'll be happy to be wrong. And I would be happy for somebody to convince me that we can negotiate the right contract and we can not run people out of business. But my first gut instinct is we have to have the right people in charge to negotiate things that protect us. And I don't think it's something as evil as kickbacks or lining their pockets. I just think it's just I don't think things. I couldn't run my business how the county's being run. Put it that way. I'd be out of business.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Hey, Bradley, out there on the west coast of the USA, how you doing?
Living the dream, sir.
I'm wondering, Bradley, if you could do us all a favor, us older folks, if you could explain a little bit about Antifa and whether we should be afeared of them.
Afeared.
No, so Antifa stands for Anti-Fascist Action. It's not a group. It's not really, I mean, it's more of like just sort of a generally accepted set of ideas that fascism should be opposed by any means necessary. Most people associate it with like violence at protests and, you know, interrupting public right-wing speeches. And now they're calling it a terrorist organization, which doesn't really make any sense, but.
So it's more of a distributed, you know, bunch of folks.
I mean, it's something you do. It's not really like
it would be a terrorist organization. It would be a terrorist organization if you're a fascist. So look who's calling you a terrorist.
Yeah.
So is this is the group that they're blaming on the looting, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
So who do you think's responsible for the looting?
Well, 40 white supremacists got arrested in Minneapolis for looting.
really?
And there's videos of Black people chasing these white guys that are all covered up, complete with umbrella and hood, and they're videotaping them looting and burning. And there's one picture I just saw tonight. The guy has a 3% tattoo on his arm as he's setting fire to a store.
Wow.
Does everyone know what 3% is? Marion, can you talk about that?
I was puzzled because they had an Adopt a Highway sign in front of the McDonald's on the other side of town, on the way to the dump. And I looked into it a little bit, and apparently it's some kind of extreme right-wing group, and they're kind of scary. They say they're not militia, but they talk about defending their country and their constitution. So I called the Adopt a Highway because we were all talking about it. Somebody saw the sign and mentioned it, and then somebody else started to look into it, and then I called, and there was no contract. I called the Adopt a Highway. There was no contract. They didn't know anything about the 3% sign. And I'm like, well, I can send you a picture.
Is that still up?
No, well, I said to them, there's 2 3% signs and they're 6 miles apart. One's down by that little Lecanto church just before Lecanto Highway on East Gulf to Lake. And the other one was right in front of McDonald's off of Croft on East Gulf to Lake. So they wound up saying, oh, well, there's no contract and we don't know how those signs got there and it's a big mystery. But if you want that sign, we can be happy to give it to you. You can have that sign. You can have that stretch of highway. So
did this group put their own sign up that mimics the Adopt a Highway sign?
No, we just contracted with Adopt a Highway and we now have that stretch of road.
Right.
We don't know how the sign originally got put up there, and there's no signed documents with Adopt a Highway. I mean, there should be a paper someplace, saying sign.
The 3% is a known white supremacist group.
Yes.
I want to make it perfectly clear that I did not make those signs.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark L. Baker, for not making those signs.
But they were eager to like switch gears and offer us that stretch of highway.
Great.
And I'm like, it's going to be a permanent mystery. Those signs went up with no contract. Nobody knows anything about it.
Someone knows something.
Nobody knows nothing.
Dig into it.
Nobody knows nothing.
So I could just go to a printer and have them make a sign that says Schlabach Security and Sound has adopted this portion of the highway, as long as it looks like
I'd make that sign.
Yeah.
I'd make that sign, Ruthie.
No, I mean, you actually are supposed to go through the proper system to get the sign. They just don't have a paper trail about this.
Exactly.
They sent me an application. I told them I was representing Citrus Coffee Coalition, and this was my little project. And they sent me paperwork. I signed it. It went back. It went through all the regular channels like it's supposed to. And then like a couple of weeks later, the signs went up. There's one going towards Crystal River, and then there's one coming the other way back towards Inverness. And it's from Croft Avenue to Kensington.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So now every time I drive past the sign, I'm like a maniac. Like, what is wrong with that crazy old lady?
Oh, we love you. We're actually going to be cleaning up that highway this Saturday. So
yes, Saturday morning.
Yep, we do our part.
Was there a question in there somewhere about
the 3%?
Probably not.
Maybe not.
So is it Brandon or Brendan? What? It just says BDV.
Bradley.
Bradley. So was there a question with what you were telling us about the group and getting the blame for a terrorist group?
Oh no, Dale brought it up. I just kind of think that. Well, I mean, they've just been kind of in the news lately because of all the rioting and all of the protests that have been happening all around the country. And I think they make a convenient scapegoat for a lot of politicians who want to put blame on violence and looting and
or at least one politician.
Yeah.
I was in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta last week moving. I have one twin at Georgia Tech, and then her twin was at Florida State and she graduated, so she was moving to Atlanta. So I was in Atlanta, and Friday I got to witness my first peaceful protest. And it was a moving experience. It was even a little more moving for me being in Atlanta, the birth of civil rights. And then I watched it go bad. We saw the fires, we saw the things, and I couldn't understand how it went bad because there was this group that truly was doing what is our right to do and protest. And so I kind of still, you know, I appreciate you telling me that, you know, what your theory is, because I couldn't understand how it went from one thing to right into another. And I felt like when it went bad, it took away the message, which I still is heavy on my heart of what has happened. And I think anybody that has seen the video and seen the murder of this gentleman, if they aren't moved by it, then I don't think they have any humanity. So it's interesting that you bring this up and saying that it could be a scapegoat or, you know.
Well, I honestly do not blame anybody for rioting. I do not blame anybody for deciding to take more direct action on the streets. I feel like sometimes direct action and even violence is justifiable. Because I mean, the problem is the violence didn't start with, you know, the protests in the streets. It started when they crushed that poor guy's neck with, you know, when that cop, you know, crushed that poor man's neck with his knee.
And the other cops stood by and watched.
Yeah.
And 2 of them were on his back at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Antifa is a convenient scapegoat for Mr. Trump. And he didn't even say that there's some very good people, you know, amongst them folks. You know?
Yeah.
I just think that for me personally, when it starts getting violent, it takes away from the message.
Sure.
But I don't respond to violence, and I don't respond to bullies, and I appreciate your thought process, but I don't, that's not how you're going to get the message to me. And I loved seeing Black, white, Asian, men, women, transgender together saying this is not right, and when are we gonna open up our eyes and stop this? And so that's how I personally feel. I was glad that I witnessed it, but it made me sad in some respects, because then the media is only going to fixate on, oh, there were tennis shoes stolen. And then this man's life is kind of it's diminished. That's how I personally feel. No,
I think we agree with you. And I would say that, like, for the most part, we've had very peaceful demonstrations and protests in Inverness and Crystal River. And, you know, we haven't had too many problems at all. I think, you know, maybe what you witnessed was the original group, and then someone else came in and created some havoc and some chaos. We can't always blame the original group for what happens.
No, and I looked at it as 2 separate groups.
Yeah.
I truly, because there were a couple young people that we knew that were down there protesting, and my daughter called them and they left because it became violent. I also witnessed Black men and women that were law enforcement officers stand there and take things getting thrown at them and spit on. And that broke my heart, because I felt like those men and women probably wanted to be on the other side of the fence protesting, but they felt that our safety was important enough to take it. And that was very moving to me.
And I would agree with you, Ruthie. Totally. You know, I wouldn't want anything to happen to them either.
Yeah.
So I think as we speak to each other, we find that we actually have a lot more in common. You know, we understand that we all are caring about people on both sides of that fence.
And you have to, I'm more cognizant of it than ever, especially after this week, because I have been privileged enough to not have to worry about sending my son and daughter out into the world and worry because they have a different color skin that they might be persecuted. To me, that I can't imagine being a mother and worrying. I mean, I worry about my daughters as it is. So to put that on, it breaks my heart. This week has been very heavy on my heart. But then I think, okay, this is going to make me the person that I need to be as a leader, because no matter what, when you're sitting on that county commission, you represent the whole county. And I think that's something that is in a sense missing, because I can't just say, you know what, Ann, I'm only going to represent the blonde hair, blue-eyed woman, because that's absolutely insane. But at times I feel like I'm not being heard because I don't have the same mindset as some of our leaders. And so I'm going to go into it like I represent everybody. And I'm going to have to make decisions for the Messinas and listen to them and have them tell me, okay, this is really a good idea about universal garbage. And you have to evolve as a leader, right? You can't just go in and say, I'm against this, or too bad for you. And I hope that I'm normal enough to win. I know that sounds hokey, but I do feel that I'm a normal citizen. And I don't know. This is not an easy thing.
No, it's not.
It's not. There's no easy answers.
Well, I'm retired law enforcement, so don't hold it against me. I was one of the good guys. I was actually trying to protect and serve.
Oh no, I think I was so impressed with the Atlanta Police Department. I mean, it was moving to me. And I believe 95% are good people, but then you have that other person that, I forget the man's name, the police officer. But no, I was moved by law enforcement and impressed by them. And
I agree. I mean, last week, from the first time I saw that, I was next to tears all week. I was just so upset about seeing that. And, you know, I mean, some of that stuff when I was on the force, and there was that thin blue line nonsense, and I have never felt that was the right thing to do. And police, more than anybody, should be policing these people that make it hard for everybody else.
Yes.
I'll tell you right now, though, I've never been in trouble with the law. I am Irish. I do have, you know, they don't call us to fight in Irish for nothing. But I'll tell you right now, if I had been there, I know I would have been arrested, because I would have thrown my body into that police officer. There's no way any person could stand by and listen to a man cry out for his mother and not react. And I think the other 3 police officers need to be prosecuted. Plain and simple, I don't care.
I don't know what's taken them so long.
I think that they're trying, I hope they're trying to build a case. But when you're complacent like that, that to me is, you know, if somebody's getting murdered, or, you know, that whole mentality of, you know, somebody's getting raped or murdered, but I didn't do it. I just saw it happen. That to me doesn't work.
No.
And I hope that something good will come out of this. I think that if I'm so affected by this as a white woman, a mother, then I think then most of the world has to be affected by this. I'm hoping.
Most of the world is. Most of the world is protesting. I mean, I think this is going to be a game changer, I hope.
Yeah, we have systemic
so
racism in this country, and it's time to address it. And it may be an uncomfortable conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to happen. It can't keep being ignored. You know, policing may be part of the issue, and the training and the lack of de-escalation, but that's only a piece of it.
It's absolutely, the training is part of it. The hiring is another thing. When I was working, they were not that great about doing the psychologicals. And I'm sure that, you know, now what's happened is a lot of guys and women who would be good officers are afraid to go into law enforcement because so many of them are being shot. So they end up with the dregs, and they tend to kind of look the other way. And that's how these terrible people get on law enforcement.
I called our front office person, Anna, was a retired New York City Police Department officer. And I called her from Atlanta and I said, what the heck? And she said, there were times that she said that gentleman, George, was handcuffed. And the other police officers had their hands in their pockets or their hands behind them. So it was an obvious he was not a threat. And she said several times during her career, if she saw that somebody was being unduly roughed up or whatever, whether they thought that person deserved it or not, she said at a certain point, she'd say, okay, that's enough. And she would take the person away and put them in her own squad car. I just don't understand how that didn't happen. And I don't know that the world understands how that didn't happen.
Well, Minneapolis is apparently, their department is just a mess. 45 cases of knees on neck, 45.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's just horrendous.
Are they trained to put their, is that a part of the procedure, or is it knee on the back?
Technically, that's an illegal thing to do. But
Okay.
apparently it's, you know, one of the, again, they just look the other way because a cop can do no wrong. And that's just not right. I've never believed that was right.
But now everything's on video. Nobody can get away with anything.
And they did anyway. I mean, they were
Yeah,
Do it anyway?
and they're going to do it anyway.
They didn't seem to be care. They didn't seem to care that they were videoed. I'm very aware of the fact that this is being videoed. And I'm thinking, okay, I have to, you know, in a sense, censor what I really want to say because I don't want to offend somebody. But I still have to get my truth out there. If you are not aware that you're being recorded in this day and age, then you live under a rock. And they didn't even care they were being recorded.
No, they didn't, because police do this stuff, and even if it goes to a trial, they get found not guilty. So they probably weren't the tiniest bit worried about this.
He was pretty casual. He readjusted his knee on the guy's neck, and he was fishing his hand around in his pocket, and just the boldness of the act. And then when I saw the video from the other side of the car, and I saw there were 3 other officers, that was just like blowing my mind. There was 4 of them standing there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, his wife's divorcing him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, like when I watch these videos of these protests, it's not just minorities in the crowd. It's an even mix of all colors of people. And I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, people are angry.
Ruthie.
Yes.
Are you aware that there's going to be a protest in Crystal River next Sunday afternoon?
No.
This Sunday.
Yeah, this coming Sunday. A lady by the name of Candace Christian. Are you familiar with her?
No.
No, she's a delightful lady. Really, she's really upset about what's been going on, and so she's got in contact with Crystal River law enforcement up there in that neck of the woods, and she's got their buy-in to have a protest, a peaceful protest. And supposedly law enforcement is going to keep it under control.
Nice.
So, geez, I'd love to see you up there.
Well, I will look into that. But I'll tell you that I drove, I witnessed Atlanta's, and I drove through Ocala last night, and to see these young people protesting and the police department in unison with them for this was very moving. And I made my husband roll down the window and honk the horn and, thumbs up. And some of the people, when they looked at me, were shocked because here's this old white lady, saying, "You go." And then their faces would just light up like she gets it. And I want all our young men and women to know that there are people like me and you that get it, and we're not going to stand by and accept it anymore. And until we can get the leadership that will unite everybody. And I've been told that's a pipe dream, that there's always going to be evil. There's always going to be, this and that. But I hope that my children are going to be the generation that makes a change, that can make a difference. And that is my hope. And I'm sure that's everybody's hope, that our children and grandchildren, that we don't leave such a mess for them. And that's, again, locally, I hope to make a difference. I hope that I win and that I can try. I don't think that I might make mistakes, but if I make a mistake, I'm going to own up to my mistake and say, you can't be perfect in this world. And I've never done this before, but I have spent the last 2 years educating myself, trying to come up with the right plan. Again, like I said about paving the roads, I'm going to try to think outside of the box, because right now we can't do it. And we are winning. I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but we're winning in all the losing categories for the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of being the winner of all the losers. And when it hit with me, my daughter was in Tallahassee. She at the time was working for our Lieutenant Governor, Jeanette Nunez, which, by the way, I don't know if you all are all Democrats or if there's Republicans or independents. I was thrilled that for the first time there was a Latino woman sitting in that office. And what a great person to mentor my daughter. And then I found out we were actually winning in the hepatitis category too.
All right.
And I'm like, so we're winning in all the categories that are the worst. It's 67 counties.
Wow.
Our unemployment, our unemployment, our poverty rate, and now hepatitis.
Wow.
So somehow we have to get the right leadership in there that will work for us. And I don't know if we haven't had the right skills up there, or if it's laziness, or I don't know what the problem is. But I'm gonna educate myself in every area that I possibly can. And
Rich and I are going to have to go. We want to thank you, Ruthie. We really appreciate your thoughts and
Open
answering
mind.
our questions. And Dale, we want to thank you for putting this together. So
Hey, my pleasure.
thank you. It's nice
good night,
meeting you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, so I hope that, wait, where are you? Okay, so I hope that gives you a little bit of, educates you a little bit about me, that you can see my heart and know that I want to help. And I hope I can,
That'd be an improvement.
Thank you. I think we need a lot of new blood in this county. I think it seems to me like it's, we're new here, but it seems like a lot of it's the same old, same old. So to see new blood coming in, I'm very excited about that. And Dale has presented a lot of people to us. So we get to know more of these people now. So thank you very much.
Where did you move from?
South Florida. So we're
Oh,
from a very liberal area.
What part did you come from?
Miami. Well, we lived in Miami, raised the kids in Miami, but then we moved to the other side of the state to Pine Island, which was near Fort Myers.
My brother was born in Miami. I was born in Sarasota.
Ah.
Yeah, so we moved up here in 1995, and I cried and cried and said, "You can't make me live there." I was only married a year, and now I'm running for office, and I love it.
Good for you.
Good for you. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
We hope you get in there.
We do.
Oh,
A hard year to campaign, though. How do you campaign?
It's the craziest thing, but in a way, the one thing that I was the most intimidated by, and it's very hard to intimidate me. Again, the 8th of 9 children, you don't get intimidated by much. And it was door knocking, because as a woman, it's kind of scary to go to some of these doors. And guess what? I didn't have to do that, but I lost that opportunity of meeting people and getting my name out there. So, and it was also intimidating coming to this, because this is out of my comfort zone. I'm not afraid to speak to people. I love to hear different ideas, but it's not easy to come and meet a bunch of new people that might have different thoughts than me. Bradley definitely has different thoughts from me, but I can appreciate his thoughts. Just because they're different doesn't mean that I'm not going to like them. We're just different.
Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I would like to talk to you more about it, because it's kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
But
Bradley's a native of Citrus County, right, Bradley?
I've lived in Citrus County since, I want to say 97 or 98.
Okay.
I mean, I lived in Inverness. Got a lot of family in Inverness. My mom and grandma are still there. I'm just in California because my brother's in the military.
Okay.
He got off base housing, needed a roommate, so I moved in with him. So that's really the only reason I'm over here.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you weren't in town. I missed that part.
All right. Well, geez, Ruthie, it's been a pleasure to meet you and to chat with you. And anytime you want to come back, just let us know. This video chat thing here is new to most of us as well.
Yeah.
We have over 300 members, and we had up to 13 viewers with this chat. So I consider that a success.
Now, is it Elise? Is that Elise's? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Alyssa.
Alyssa. I was gonna say, did you ever get your microphone to work?
No.
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
No,
She's been typing what she has to say.
Oh, okay.
If you can see,
I didn't get that. Okay.
if you can see where there's been typing, that's Alyssa.
Okay. I kind of missed that. I kept thinking it was people interrupting me, and I swept it away.
Well, Ruthie, it was an honor to be your first Zoom call, and thank you so much. It was really wonderful meeting you, and
You did good, Ruthie.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, this
Yes,
is
you
really
did.
me, and I'm always going to tell you the truth, and you might not always like it, but I'm going to still say my truth.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, David, for setting it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, that was very good. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ruthie. Thanks,
Yeah.
Dale.
Bye, everybody. Thanks,
Good luck.
Dale.
See y'all.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey.